Have you ever felt confused about life, even though your success looks real to everyone? The more you achieve, the more fake it feels. Most people tell you, practice gratitude or just push through it. But if that were actually true, it would have worked by now. There's a reason you feel lost. And it's not what you think. What I eventually realized, feeling confused and lost, wasn't really confusion. It was misalignment. This happens when you're living off of someone else's value system instead of your own. In this video, I will show you how to identify what you actually value and finally close that gap between who you say you are and how you actually live. First, I want to let you know that you have all of the answers inside of you. There is no right or wrong value system. It's part of your character's framework. So when you ask, what should I value? That question ends up being a trap. It invites fantasy. It invites social signaling. It gets you thinking about who you want to appear to be rather than who you actually are. Instead, ask yourself these 3 questions to reveal your real values. What do I protect when it's being threatened? Now, for me, it's my freedom. What's that one thing for you? What makes you angry when you have to let it go? What do I consistently choose when there's a cost? Not just money. What do you prioritize when you can't have everything? These questions show you what you value in theory. Now let's see if your behaviors back it up. Think about this. When a company reveals their financial metrics to improve performance, that's just smart business. They audit the data and make decisions based on reality, not aspiration. You are a business. Your life is the enterprise. Let's start minding our own business and treat this like a performance review, not a therapy session. Where did your time actually go? Not what you planned to do, but what you actually did. I noticed when I did this audit that I used my time to gather information, but I lacked the follow-through to do something substantial with that information. So pretty much, I wasted a lot of time. But at least that answered the question of where did my time go? Maybe you're experiencing something familiar or similar to my experience, feeling confused all the time about where the days actually went. Next question, where did your money actually go? I noticed that I invested most of my money on self-improvement and exploration, quenching my thirst for knowledge and understanding on what makes me and others tick. What is it for you? Is it designer clothes, experiences, or maybe security? Last question. What choice did you make that forced you to sacrifice something else or ignore everything else? Here's an example of what I mean. I said yes to building my business, which neglected time with my friends and family. I said yes to having a stable job, which neglected my creative projects. Or I said yes to keeping everyone happy, which neglected my own needs. Don't feel shame. This is where your identity crisis feeling comes from. The gap between who we say we are and what our choices reveal who we actually are. This is often when people say, I'm confused about my life, or I feel lost in this world because the data doesn't match with the story you've been telling yourself. Now, let's identify the non-negotiables. What loss would feel like an identity crisis, not just inconvenience. Here's what I mean. What if I lose this job as a senior technician in this important company? Or what if I'm not a mom anymore to my children? If losing that role would make you feel like a nobody, like you've lost yourself, then that is the direction of your core values. What would that be for you? Most people only have 3 to 5 real values. More than that is self-deception. If everything is a value, nothing is. Your real values might include things like autonomy, history, stability, recognition, care for others, truth, influence, or order. But these aren't aspirational words that you put in a vision board. These are brutally honest acknowledgments of what actually drives you. Now, let's look at your strongest emotion. This is where it gets interesting. Strong reactions are signals. And if you're doing shadow work or you're going through some kind of spiritual awakening, you're probably noticing emotions you've been avoiding for years. Anger means a value is being violated. Pride means a value is being honored. Guilt means there's a value you believe in, but you're not living. Envy means there's a value you haven't admitted matters to you. Don't moralize these emotions. Interrogate them, because they're pointing to something beneath the surface. Your anger isn't random. It's telling you a boundary was crossed. Your guilt shows you where you're being out of alignment. If you've been feeling confused as of late about why certain situations trigger you so intensely, this is why. Your emotions are revealing misalignment between your stated values and your lived values. So ask yourself, if I could only keep one, which would I choose? Freedom or security? Truth or belonging? Excellence or balance? Growth or comfort? Impact or peace? The answer that comes up first before you start explaining it away, that's usually the honest one. Here's the part people avoid, and it's why so many midlife women end up in burnout. Your real values might clash with your self-image. They might be unfashionable. They might require saying no to people that you like. They might demand change. I remember when I decided to stay at home with my sons and homeschool them, to give them the purest energy I had instead of giving it to my employers. The moment I made that decision, I felt judgment from the people closest to me, like I was lazy for not going to work, or I wasn't thinking smart, or I was going through some kind of crisis. It wasn't until my sons were grown and on their own that people finally recognized the value of what I'd done. But here's the thing. I had less money than me or my sons were used to, like a lot less. And I made that choice anyways. I valued presence with my sons more than comfort, more than approval, more than financial security. That's what living your values actually cost, but it enhances your life greatly. If there is no cost, it's not a value. And if you're still feeling lost in life and don't know what to do, it's likely because you haven't clarified what you actually value versus what you think you value. Here's the truth. Your core values don't actually change. Your need for autonomy, your desire for mastery, your drive for meaning, these stay across decades. What changes is how much priority each one gets and what cost you're willing to pay. When people say, my values have changed, What they really mean is, I stopped pretending something mattered to me. This is the real midlife transformation everyone talks about, but few explain honestly. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about finally being honest about who you've always been. That can feel destabilizing, but that's not crisis. That's clarity. So if you're sitting here wondering why everything feels off despite doing the right thing, the question isn't what you should value. The question is, what do I already value? And am I brave enough to live accordingly?